We need 3 level tablespoons of the meringue powder. And I'm making sure that the meringue powder actually is level by actually swiping the blade of the knife across the top of it, and any excess falls back into our container. Your recipe calls for 5 to 6 tablespoons of water. I like to use caution on the 5 tablespoon side. If I feel because of humidity or the circumstances of my environment requires additional water, I can go back and add that later. But once your royal icing is too loose, it's a job to try to fix it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have our 3 level tablespoons of the meringue powder and our 5 tablespoons of water. If we need to add some water a little bit later, we can do that. But I think it actually is too much of an effort to try to correct it if we made it too loose. So let's just make it stiff from the beginning. So now it's time for us to measure out our powdered sugar. It actually calls for 1 pound of powdered sugar, which is 16 ounces. We have a digital scale. We have a digital scale, a bowl, and I actually like to use this as the sifter. It's just easier for me opposed to using the crank one that actually can rest. I'm going to scoop it out with the scooper. I'm going to turn the scale on. When I turn it on, when I turn the scale on with the bowl and the sifter already in place, its weight is actually at 0 because I just turned it on. But if I actually had it on and had the weight already registered, it would get a little confusing. So make sure that I zeroed it out or teared it out by actually turning it on so that we can actually have a 0 weight before we start. And that means any weight that actually is added at this point is just pure sugar weight. So we start at 0. And I like to actually measure it this way because if you actually scoop it, depending on how heavy-handed you are, one cup might not actually be the proper measurement that it needs to be. So it's probably better to just weigh it opposed to scooping it. So currently I'm at 11. Now I'm at 13.7 ounces, trying to get to 16, which is 1 pound. And that's exactly 1 pound, which is 16 ounces. I'm going to remove this from the scale so I can work with it better. Now, you can either shake your sifter, which actually causes a lot of dust in the air. And if you're asthmatic, that's a problem. It's actually a problem for anyone. If you actually are working with dust, you might want to actually cover your face with a scarf or a mask. So I'm just going to take this spatula and just kind of brush the confectionery sugar over the sifter, over the sieves of the sifter, and that way it'll actually fall down in my bowl, and we can actually have 1 pound or 16 ounces of sifted confectionery sugar. If you have any crystals or any grains left in the bottom of the sieve, you can scrape them all through. They actually help them to pass through. However, if you did not do that, when you actually mix up your actual contents, it would actually show up and someone will bite into it, and that would not be very pleasant. So make sure you always sift the confectionery sugar even when you don't want to. Following the Wilton Royal Icing recipe in our Flowers and Cake Design workbook, we needed 1 pound of confectionery sugar, 3 level tablespoons of the meringue powder, and 5 to 6 tablespoons of the water, and we opted for 5. And if we need additional water, then we'll go back and add it a little later. Our first step is to actually add our confectionery sugar and our meringue powder. So I'm going to add all of the confectionery sugar. I'm going to make sure that I keep the splash guard on our mixer to help minimize the amount of dust and confectionery sugar that bounces out. And we're actually placing all of the contents of our confectionery sugar as well as our meringue powder inside. We're going to add a meringue powder. Going to make sure our bowl is locked. We're going to make sure our mixer is locked. And we're going to turn this on low. So now that we've actually stirred the meringue powder and the confectionery sugar together, we can actually add our water and then let it actually mix on a low speed for 7 to 10 minutes. It says 7 to 10 minutes, but you want to make sure that it's no longer glossy. That's when it's ready. If it still has a little shine to it, that's not what you want. You want it to actually get glossy. You want it to actually incorporate all the meringue powder and the confectionery sugar with the water. So I'm going to keep this on low. After I add the water, the 5 tablespoons of water, I'll start our timer and let it go for 7 to 10 minutes. I'll take a look at it to see what it looks like. If it's still glossy, that's not what we want. We want it to actually have removed the sheen, the little shine on top of it. So adding water. We're going to hit start. And we're going to mix for 7 to 10 minutes on a low speed. that was 7 minutes. We're going to take a look to see if it actually is, if it has a shine on it or not. So I'm going to actually remove the splash guard. We're going to remove the splash guard. It does have a slight shine on it. So to be on the safe side, I don't know if you can see that area right there. There's a sheen still on it. To be on the safe side, I'm just going to mix it for an additional 3 minutes after I scrape the bowl down. It's just slightly shiny, but to be on the safe side, I'm going to mix it 3 more minutes. So I'll unlock the bowl. Scrape it down. It definitely is stiff. 1 tablespoon makes a huge difference because I made this recipe with 6 tablespoons as a test just to see, and it was very loose. As a matter of fact, some of the videos that you actually see, a lot of the videos that you actually see was made with the 6 tablespoons, so it's not as stiff as I would like for it to be. If you look at the primrose, the apple blossom border, and the daffodil and the violet were actually made with the daffodil, and the purple violets and purple primrose were actually made with the stiff. So go back through the videos so you can actually see the difference in the actual stiffness. So this has been a total of 10 minutes mixing, so we're going to turn it off. And this is what our icing, our royal icing looks like after the first 7 minutes, and then going back and actually mixing it for additional 3 minutes. So we actually have mixed it for 10 minutes. It's surely stiff, but should actually yield us some beautiful royal icing flowers. Make sure that you actually cover your royal icing with a damp dish towel so that it won't dry out if you need to actually clean up or do something in the meantime, because it is stiff and it will dry out. So we can remove our damp cloth when we're actually ready to transfer it to the actual container that we're going to keep it in. You can see it is very stiff, hard to actually move. This is so stiff that I would not recommend trying to actually press it through tip number 1 without thinning it out. This is very stiff, and you can probably observe that it actually dries fairly quickly. It dries as hard as cement. It's prettier than cement and it's smoother, but it does dry pretty stiff, which is actually what you want for your flowers. And what I'm going to do, try to press it down as much as I can so that all of it can pretty much be together opposed on the side, because the part on the side is going to dry out quicker, the part that stands alone. And what you want to do is take a piece of plastic and you want to push it down as close as possible so that it's actually touching your icing, and that'll help to keep air out. It's not going to make it airtight. I mean, you have to vacuum the air out for that, but you do want to actually put the plastic as close as possible to remove as much air as you possibly can prior to placing your lid on. This is the Wilton Royal Icing recipe from the actual Flowers and Cake Design class book, and it yielded 3 cups, which actually is a fair amount to actually complete many of the ornaments as well as flowers that you're going to need to decorate many different cakes.